That might explain some things, wouldn't it? Check. Give it a second. I can't
Watch the audio level, and I'm trying to see how it's bouncing. It's not bounce. What is it going down? What is it like bouncing?
Talking to myself like I'm talking to a child. Basically, like, no, I just talk. I just talk. Talk to myself.
Hey, check, hey, check. Hey, yo, check. Hey, yo, check, hey, check. You're gonna have to deal with like this, but like, you know, back to the front stuff.
It's like a reverse mullet. Just looks like that. Because we kind of just feel like straight for set stuff now. I'll be here, guarding your face. Never been to the early GBC start.
is my Hail Mary.
Oh, good, buddy. Yeah, all I have is quarter inch.
Yeah, nope.
Well, you tried. I appreciate it, buddy.
Here's a quick question.
Can you just watch that line real quick?
Yeah.
Just tell me when we're green. Yeah.
We are middle mid green.
Right there?
Was. Now we're moving to high green. Still being negative 20. Now we're green. Top green. Negative 5. Mid green. Mid green. I can tell you colors and numbers.
Table for us to sit at. I'm trying to find it. I think they just by the trash can. We'll sit by the trash can. Well, if you guys are sitting there, I guess we'll sit over there. If I had to try to solve my own, I would say, I can figure things out. It just depends on how long it's going to take me to do so. That's why I call it. It's true. It's why I call it ice cream. It's like, want to blow up? I know, I never, that is not right.
Good afternoon. First off, I want to start off by thanking everybody for coming to this celebration of life for Tonya, tangled through the lobby. This is a little sedate for what she would have wanted if she had had her brothers. Okay, she would definitely want some jazz and dancing and a little bit more wild party if she had her way. But she's not going to so this will be. The first time I brought Tonya to meet my family was at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother immediately treated us like we were meant to be together. Like we were already long term. I think we've been seeing each other for a couple months at that point, and we were already long term. And I always took that as a situation where she just knew that we were meant to be together. My dad told me a few weeks after that no, she just didn't think I was ever going to bring anybody home. She was just so happy I had brought somebody home. When I was asked how we met, the response I normally give people about how we met was I tell her, we were playing games with friends. It was just, we were hanging out with friends and playing games. What I normally leave out of that is that we were both dressed up as vampires at the time. And that I don't remember all of the details. I know that her clan and my clan were at odds, and it was probably filled with lots of angst and melodrama. And if you were ever a pretend vampire in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about. Right? Lots of angst and melodrama. And very shortly after that commenced the whirlwind in my life that Tonya was. She had me going to dance practice within a week and a half, and by the end of the second week, I gave me my first set of medieval clothing for the SCA and guard, and it was just a non-stop creative whirlwind. She definitely embraced her life fully and as an ongoing part. Okay? She lived her life very, very fully. For as long as I know her, she was very much into costuming. Her time through the SCA and made her going to fantasy and gaming conventions doing costuming. In addition to that, as a household, we were very much into Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games. She was a writer and had self-published 8 books so far. 10 books so far. She was in love with so many things and loved them fully and ridiculously. One of the last conversations we had with people that she introduced her to was she had mentioned that she's really into sharks. Right? And that was always been a thing. She really loved sharks. And so and she was like, oh, do you like the Discovery Channel and things like that? And she was very calm for some reason. I said, oh yes, I love that. And I had to stop her and say, okay, let's be honest here. While you do like the Discovery Channel sharks, what you really like is Sharknado. She had a huge love for monster movies. Could go in a great depth for her love of Godzilla and King Kong. To the point of being able to tell you why in the 1994 version of Godzilla, it was which is way more than I can do that. But she fully loved all these ridiculous things, which turned out to be pretty good for me. Through all of that, she was really, in the end, a storyteller. She always had a story to tell. She was always making friends to tell stories to and about. If you were ever got a chance to sit with her for 5 minutes, you were friends. 10 minutes and you were best friends. She was more than willing to share her life and yours at the drop of a hat. So, we have a book over here on the side display tables that has a drag on the cover. We're asking each of you if you have memories or stories that you remember with Tangle to please fill those out in that book. In addition, because there might not be, it might be too long to lie, we also have pages on each of the tables with some pens for you to just fill out a story, fill out a memory you have with Tonya or Tangle, and we will compile those all together when we're done. In addition, so the comedian Jerry Seinfeld has a whole bit he does about fears, and that people's number one fear is public speaking, and number two is death, right? And so getting up here to share your story in front of everybody, I understand that that's daunting, but we would love if you felt the desire to do so, to go ahead and step up here and kind of share your stories for the next little bit while we celebrate her life and the impact she's had on all of us. Thank you all for coming.
Really appreciate it. If you don't know me, my name is Sean Farmer. I've been on Tangle's roommate, business partner, travel buddy, whatever, for 16 years now. And my story starts off like just about everybody that has known her. Having a bad day, you go to dance practice and things turn around immediately. I was having one of the worst days I've had up to that point, and one of my friends says, "Hey, I'm going to dance practice. Do you want to come along?" I'm like, "I don't know how to dance." "Sure, let's try it." She didn't tell me it was medieval dance. She didn't tell me where it was or any details. And as we're at the courtyard at the elementary school down the street from our house, we're waiting, Tonya comes in, and it was one of those moments that I remember from a dream, kind of like deja vu. I have known this person for all of my life, and I'm just meeting them now. And we were doing our dance practice. She was teaching us dance. I don't even remember which dance it was at this point. But as regularly happened, she ran into me because I was in the wrong place. And she went on to explain how physics says two bodies cannot contain in the same space at the same time. Something that if you have dance practice where you've heard that lecture before. And then she made a joke about her AC, or my AC not being high enough, and I laughed. And she decided in that moment that she had to get to know me, invited me to play D&D with them. I literally know this woman an hour, and she's inviting me into their gaming table to play D&D with them. And that pretty much changed the trajectory of my life. Since then, I have started a publishing company with her. As he said, we published 10 books under her name. We've published 5 or 6 authors. We have toured the United States from one side down to the other, going to conventions and teaching costuming and writing and telling stories. I am definitely the man I am today because of her. And I think a lot of us, I think a lot of us here today can say the same thing. like Todd said, if you knew her for 5 minutes, she was lifelong friend. That's so many things I want to say, but in the moment they all just flew by the brain, you know? Her love of stories is one of the things that she and I connected on so strongly. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard her say at some point, "No shit, there I was," followed by some long story about what happened, and she could tell it the same way every single time because her memory for names and faces and events was unparalleled. Thank you all for the impact you had on her life and on mine. Thank you all for being here. And if anybody else wants to talk so that I can go have a breakout for a moment, I really appreciate it. Anybody?
So, my name is Tonya and in the SCA, I'm Erin Miller. And the first time I met Tangled was at the last fall up in Moscow. I just sold my very first gown for this event. It was glorious and I loved it. It was beautiful. And we did one dance and buttons started flying. And I'm in the bathroom with a handful of buttons, not knowing what to do. And she obviously saw it, and she pulled out her little packet of sewing stuff, and sewed me back into my dress, and took me out. We learned the caribou, which was my first major dance with her. Sorry. And yeah, she is a woman who will definitely put you in your place where you need to be and just give you a shove so you know where to go. And she will be missed, and I have so many other stories, but I will pass it off to you.
My name is Jerry Schaefer, and Aaron Torp from River from the SCA. I say that with kind of a mixed feeling right now, especially with this celebration of Tanglwyst Live. Before I would, my wife and I were pulled and elected, as you were, to be the Baron and Baroness. It was down to Terrence and Tangle, and Rachel, and myself. And we were getting ready to sit in front of an amazing group of people. They were going to ask us questions. We had to respond very much like a political debate, only a lot more civilized. But it was so funny because about 30, 40 minutes before, Tangle and I were sitting there talking. It was like, well, if they ask you this, what are you going to say? Well, if they ask me this, I'm going to say this. Here's what I think what we should do. And this is what, and about probably 3/4 of the way through, we realized that this is my competitor. I didn't know all of my great secrets. And then we both started laughing because it was just such an absurd thing. And she had such a great heart. It didn't matter. We realized at that moment, who won, who lost, it didn't matter. Because she was just such a giving and kind, loving person. She had room in her heart, and we knew that whatever, however that damage went, we were going to be okay. We'd still continue to move on. And during the time that my wife and I did live in that particular round and served for quite a few years, there was one point where I was dancing in what they call dog dress, nice long medieval thing. The standard joke of the SCA is the SCA teaches you how to go up the stairs in a dress. You lift it up, and you're a guy. So, but I had stepped on the hem, and I had ripped it out. And Tang was like, we don't have time before court to fix this. She's like, well, let me see if I have safety pins. She went screwing off. And she was our herald at the time, so I was holding an office and had quite a bit of work to do, keep all of our awards and that kind of stuff squared away. And she said, wait, I found the solution. She comes back with a roll of duct tape. Says, just flip it up and we'll just duct tape it on and no one will know. And it's such a a fond memory that I have of her because she was always spontaneous. She had such a kind heart. She was always willing to give any and everything that she had to anyone at any time. And I'll definitely miss her. I'll miss her humor, her laugh, her body singing around the campfires, her deciding she was going to be the last one to close down the campfire 90% of the time. You know, everyone has gone to bed, and she's still out there hurrying around, waiting for some lost soul to come wandering by to share a song or a story. She's an amazing woman. I'll definitely miss her.
So my name is Rosellen Buriel Price. I was known in the Society for Creative Anachronism as Lady Aurelia, and that's how we met. And I have several different stories about Tangle because she and I bumped into each other quite often. If I had to pick one word to describe her, it would be authentic. What you saw was what you got. If she smiled at you, you were friends. If she got a frown, she was ticked off about something. She didn't care what you thought. If she did something inappropriate, oh well. And that's actually one of the things I was known for. What would Lady Aurelia do? Blush. And she went out of her way to try to get me to do it. But I remember one of the times that we actually got to know her better and better was we had gone down to Arizona to an SCA war called Estrella War. Estrella War is an event that is held that people from literally all over the world attend. I think at that one there were probably about 6,700 people that were there at that site. When we were all getting ready to come home, there was a news flash that went around that there had been a car accident. Tangle's car had been hit and totaled. She and the passenger that were with her were both okay, but they had no way to get home now. Well, my husband, Fred, who also went by Blaze, and I had gone down with a caravan in a motorhome with a bunch of horses because we were part of the equestrian team. And we said that we would be able to if we had room, we could bring her back. The ride home was probably about 15 hours of Tangle's stories of her exploits at Estrella War, and that just utterly cemented our friendship. I treasure those moments with her, and she left a lasting legacy on one of the kingdom regalia. One of the things that I was at the time was the Bard of Artemisia. This was something that you gained by performing for the king and queen, and then you could be selected. There is an absolutely gorgeous cape that the Bard of Artemisia had at that time. And I had that, and one of the things that you were supposed to do was embroider your name in that cape. Well, I couldn't embroider. My embroidery is kind of like what would look like, or say, if a dozen cats got a ball of yarn, and that's how my embroidery is. So she volunteered to do the embroider, and my name in the cloak for the Bard of Artemisia was done by her.
So I, like many people here, don't remember how Tangle came into my life. This Eldritch being just sort of appeared one day. And for some reason stuck around. I was a younger man at the time, and I recall that she had so many questions. Why are you doing this? Why not do this? What, always pushing me and kind of pressing upon me the idea oh, why don't you do this? Like it was the easiest thing in the world. Oh, why couldn't I think of that, you know? And I'm sure like many people here, I have so many stories that I could stand here and reveal to you all with, but she took a chance on a young man from Idaho and invited me to her convention. And it wasn't just hers, obviously there were other people involved, John and Mayor over there as well. But she set me up kind of on a journey of content creation that I don't think I would be on if not for her. She believed in me. She was like, well, you've got cool ideas, you've got cool opinions, why don't you do this? Why don't you get up here and speak in front of people? Something that I hated to do at the time. Still middling to fair at best. But yeah, she was always questioning why I was doing what I was doing and why I wasn't doing what I wasn't doing. And though at times it could be maybe a little bit grating, she had my best interest at heart, even before I knew what my best interests were. The loss that we all feel cannot be understated, but I do know that she probably hated the way that this turned out. All of us being sad, all of us being mopey. I mean, I've been told that she wanted a party. So I think that's what I'm going to kind of take into the future with this, is that, you know, yes, things can be sad, yes, things can be grim, we need our time to mourn, but at the end of the day, she'd want us to be laughing and smiling and sharing stories and boasting, as she was known to do. Yeah, so I guess that's just kind of the takeaway I have here, is that she touched my life, and I will be forever changed because of that. And she gave me an opportunity when few others would. So, I guess,
To follow that up, I think it's only fair, if you have a drink, let's toast her.
You're here.
What are we doing? I did not bring a drink, I was unprepared. So, everyone, to Tanglwyst. Wait, did anyone else like the microphone? Yes. Come on up, let's do a line.
Redneck hot filter.
So, this is not a story about the coolest person in the world. This is just the truth. Lots of us elder millennials loved Disney stories like Mulan when we were little. And there's an overarching theme in Mulan that not every flower blooms in the time you expect it to. And we see throughout her story that she doesn't become what people expect her to. One of the great things about figures in the con scene and in the greater bird ecosystem about people like Tangle is these kind of pastimes attract the strange and unusual and the misunderstood. And a lot of us don't necessarily have the family structures that understand us the way we deserve to be seen. So when you have found family, well, you can't spell profound without found, and that's one of those instances that makes sense. In an area like this, in these times, it is so important to have the kind of family structure that makes you feel safe and loved and protected when so much else around you is a whirlwind that you're constantly dodging. And when you're any kind of an elder, your job is to help the next generation surpass you. And because of people like Tangle, who adopted so many stragglers, who made so many outsiders feel welcome in a place where we can be safe to be ourselves, is that she taught so many of us not only how to bloom, that it was our right to. And it was our job to bloom as brightly and as ferociously as possible, if only out of spite, but largely because we deserve to. And people like Tangle don't take the color with them when they leave, because they left it in so many of us. And I'd like us to just remember that she left her glitter on us, and much as glitter tends to do, it's going to stick around for a while, but in this instance, we kind of like it that way. Thank you, Tangle, for being here and loving us the way you did.
My name is Dan Reese. I started out in the SCA way back when I was 17 and met her, well, I was 17 years old when I met her. I was known back then in the SCA as Cedric the Dull, because there was another Cedric, and he wore aluminum armor, which was incredibly shiny. So as a way of differentiating us, because we looked exactly alike, I was Cedric the Dull. The other reason they started calling me Cedric the Dull is because I was incredibly introverted. Tangle doesn't do introverted. First time I met her was actually at a fighter practice. We had arrived about halfway through after having had quite the challenge in finding the place. I was at the University of Idaho. The fighter practice was at Washington State University. We had no idea where we were going. Anyways, we finally found the place, and I met her a little ways in, and she was in the process of leaving because she had to go pick up her then boyfriend. She looked around. You, come with me. Wait, me? What? Why? Help? Why am I going? So I went along with her. No idea why. Didn't even know her name. We got into this car, which anybody that knew her way back then would remember this car. Tan, with spray-painted brown swirls. Air tracks, decals stuck all over the car, but only the right foot. So there's apparently just a right-footed bear that walked over the car. And we went off and picked up a boyfriend, and she's telling me all kinds of stories, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with those kind of stories. And I'm just looking at this person going, who are you? I don't even know your name. And we went up, we picked up her then boyfriend, and we came back. Still don't know her name. But she's told me all these stories about all these people that I have no idea who they were. To this day, most of them I don't know who they are. But it was entertaining as all get out. Next week at fighter practice, she did roughly the same thing, only with a different person. Hey, you, come along with me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not special. Okay. She would pick people out and take them along, take them under her wing for a little period of time and regale them with stories, entertain the living daylights out of you, whether you wanted to be or not. And I realized it's not that I'm not special, it's just that everybody's special to her. And that's one of the great takeaways that for me when it comes to Tangle was everybody was special to her. Thank you.
Let's see if I can hold the microphone so
My name is Lorraine Morris. I work with Tangled with our publishing company. I once heard a story that introverts make friends when an extrovert finds them and adopts them. And I think a lot of us have had that experience with Tangle over the years as we were an introvert hiding in a corner and Tangle found us. I was found at a Comic-Con. I was quickly adopted. I was dragged over several states on several road trips. I don't know how she convinced me to go. One time I wanted to go to a Comic-Con in Salt Lake, but I had work the next day, and she said, we'll drag that and we'll come back. And I think that was the great joy of Tangle, was she was not willing to take no for an answer. She would find a way there. She always talked about, I remember her loving sharks, but less because she liked sharks, but more because she reminded me of one. She was fearless, she was relentless, she reminded me of those little bottom feeder sharks too that like to pop into you all the time and steer you a certain direction. She just had this spirit that would always push you in a direction. So that's always the direction you wanted to go, but you were going somewhere. Kind of like getting pushed downhill on a sled, and we're going to get to the bottom eventually. I learned to really enjoy her creativity and just bring the spirit of being prepared with me. I'm sure I still have a container full of Tangle necessities of zip ties and hot glue sticks, and I don't know if there's a hot glue gun in there.
But just things that she would have felt would have been prepared. But I think the biggest thing I tried to take away is everyone said Tangle really liked making friends, but I think she really loved us making friends with each other. And I've made a lot of really great friends because of her, and I'm really grateful for that.
My name's Ryan. First I was going to say, I recently found out that the reason I really suck at dealing with that is because I'm autistic. I say I found out because apparently everyone else knew already. But, so I apologize. I had trouble with sucking at this. But, yep, I'm sucking at it. I met Tingle in 97. Yeah, this is all. And I have documentation for 1997. And I started in Lions March here with other people, and I was warned about that lady. And, okay. And then one very early morning at Stupid 30, I got a phone call that had her on the other end saying, I know you have a jack. Yeah. And she was trying to finagle a way to take that crappy brown car and come get my jack to go help Todd, who had a paper route at the time. And I just asked her, well, where the hell is he? And I jumped in my car and helped him change a tire. That was the best early morning phone call that I ever answered. Because I'm a friend. A really good friend. I'm the saddest because yeah. I'm normally good at public speaking. Just that Seinfeld's second fear, death, really sucks. Last decade, we had spent a lot of time because she found some really wonderful outlets for her creativity, which was Tanglwyst. And I chose people who tend to choose violence a lot. And that made my stake there. But she was always there with me. After, when I was living overseas, when I was standing in a castle, God, it was taking care. She would be really interested in that giant iron skateboard floor. And actually getting to see some tall ships and stuff. I just kept it hot. She was here, and it was always trying to get this next paper done, when I finish this next project when it's done, to reach out, see how she's doing, and that was another lesson she taught me, was don't wait. Okay, have your voice. Let's try here. The confidence that woman approached life was unbelievable. Sometimes unearned, but it was always unbelievable. And you always felt, no matter how bad the tear of the scene or the disaster of the pavilion or whatever it was at that time, you always felt it was going to be okay. Because she never showed any doubt that it was going to be okay. And her ability to prioritize, God, I'm still so jealous. How did that woman triage everything, split second to say, well, you, and you need to be over there doing that. Meanwhile, she didn't let you put your problems off. She didn't let you, oh, well, there's this. It's like, no, you need to do this, get on. She was still that voice in my head, telling me the things I don't really want to hear, but she does it with that laugh that says, you already know this, so you can't get mad about it. And you never got mad about it. She was brilliant beyond her ego. Lots of people get described as wise beyond their years, and yes, that would fit Tingle. But she had a level of brilliance that just exceeds so many. And yet she was never talking about it. She never was imposing about it. She was just brilliant and therapy. And sorry. She was always full of advice. And it was 99% of the time really good advice. And the best piece of advice that I've ever been given in my life was her explaining to me in a really crappy time for both of us that your biggest enemy probably is not trying to be your enemy. That person is doing the best they can with the information they have in front of them, and never let human traits of greed or stupidity or just misunderstanding lead you to think that somebody is intentionally trying to hurt you. Or when you run across somebody that is intentionally trying to hurt you, cut them the hell out of your life. She had the ability to make you not feel completely stupid after doing something completely stupid. One other thing I'm going to comment on is I got to hang out with her a lot more than usually. And she really was one of the most amazing parents I've ever had the pleasure of observing. You would constantly hear the litany of things that those kids had done that were fantastic. Never heard a complaint. I never heard a single negative thing about her kids from her. And you always understood that as much as she was parenting you, and as much as she cared about you as a person, she absolutely put those kids ahead of you, and that was okay. So, yeah, there's one more thing that makes it in my notes, and now I'm wishing I had put it in my notes. But she was a fantastic person, and I'm going to miss her. But right now, it feels like there's a hole in all of this. But on the other hand, there's billions of people that never got to actually meet her, and never got to get to know her. And there's thousands of others that ran into her and didn't make the best use of it. We all did. And it's not that it's really a whole. It's a chapter in the book that we, are being forced to close. And we can't go back and read it again. We can only remember it and revisit it in our hearts. And we also get to tell others about that chapter. All of our lives in this world is better because what we all wrote in that chapter of the book. So somebody please get this thing out of my head.
Sorry, you're stuck talking to me again. First off, I didn't finish all the stories I wanted to the first time. So, feel free to take several turns if that's what you need. Definitely want that. I did want to throw out a few thank yous here. First, I want to say thank you very much to my mom and dad for helping organize and do everything with the food. I'm told that there's a lot of it, so you all have to go get some more. Okay. We can't take it home. Okay, you gotta help us with that. One of the things that Tonya did a lot was she was very generous with her creations. On more than one occasion, she would go to an event or a convention and come back with less clothes than she went with. And for some people that would be suspicious, but for her that was just normal. One of my favorite stories about that is she was doing a monster convention. So she had spent about 9 months making a Medusa outfit. And she had like individually made, like unwrapped and rewrapped ropes to make the snakes. And in addition to the whole gown that she had built with underworkings, she had worked pathways in the sleeves and stuff so that when she moved her arms, the snakes would move. And it was just this fantastic, fancy Medusa outfit that she spent so much time, like I said, it was about 6 to 9 months of just always doing that. And she wore it to one convention, and somebody there mentioned that they liked it and wondered if she could help make one for a convention they had in a few months. And she changed clothes and gave them that costume right there. It was like 6 months worth of work, and it was just like gone because she had that. And she loved doing that. At her time at various conventions, one of her favorite types of classes that she enjoyed doing were called bacon cakes, which is you go to the class and during the class she teaches you how to make something. She's done them for Harry Potter wands. She's done them for a variety of little crafty things like that. Cat ears. Oh yes, take and make cat ears for kids at conventions so they come and walk away with cat ears and so on. One of my dear friends, Brittany, was kind enough as we were setting this all up to make all of the centerpieces for us. And each of those is kind of like one of the major parts of her life, be it fantasy or medieval or ships or sharks, nautical. She was really into ships. And one of the things Brittany has set up for us over here is over here at this table there is a make and take table for, I think it's bookmarks or keychains that you can make. They're making a few over there if you want to make one of those. Please feel free to make your way over there and take something to remember Tangle by. I hope we're a long ways away from done with these. I'm loving to hear all the things we're saying. Thank you all.
I'm not a public speaker, so I'm only going to talk for a second. Shanna Wheeler, SCA, I met her in 2001 in the not SCA group that she was hanging out with in Moscow. I wanted to say that her generosity, she loaned my mother the dress. Mom returned it, I promise. And she was the vivacious energy of every party. You did stay and hang out, and you may have like married the guy from the party, maybe. And I will always remember her because I put a sticker on my sewing machine because of her that says, hurry up and be useful, get naked.
So along the lines of her sticker there, we were trying to, all of us girls were trying to figure out how we could wear these navy dresses without uncomfortable bras. And everybody knows that Tangle was gifted. And so she brought us to her house
And she was teaching us how to make patterns so that we did not have to wear a bra underneath our dress. And you can just imagine half-naked women running around with half patterns stuck to them and lines drawn up on them and, duct taped up. Yeah, saran wrap, that was right, saran wrap. And it was just the most entertaining and probably very incorrect time we had, but it was.
Especially the day the AC was up.
Yeah, especially the day when the AC was up, awful sweating. But it was a lot of fun, and she always made making scarves very entertaining, and it is really nice to not have to wear a bra underneath our dresses, because they're hot.
So some of you most likely know me as Cecilia, and I've known Tonya / Tangle for, gosh, I don't know. She'd probably say 20, I have absolutely no idea. With your indulgence, I have two stories that best describe her. So, the first one was an SCA event. We were at something that's called Uprising because we're non-SCAers. It's an event in June in Holloway Falls area. And I had a young man with me, my stepson, who was at the time roughly 15 years old. And to follow up on your comment about her being gifted, this young man, while we were sitting in camp, spotted her, and she was on her way to the shower. He spotted her, and he went, "I would really like to put suntan lotion on her." And I went, "Over." His father decided that he was going to help this young man out to relive that dream, or to have that dream. So he found Tangle, and he told her about that. She showed up in our camp about an hour later, looking like she was only dressed in a towel. So underneath, obviously, she had clothes on, but she looked like she only had the towel on. She found my son and handed him the suntan lotion. All of us were dying. She unabashedly sat down and said, "Well, get working," and proceeded to make him put the suntan lotion on all over her appropriately, but everywhere that her skin was showing. Of course, he was deep red. All of us in camp were just on the floor. To this day, he remembers that story, and I've just been informed that he told his wife about this story just right after Tangle passed. And she just died laughing. But that was Tangle. She heard things like that, and she's like, "Well, we're going to do it." So the other story that I want to tell, with your indulgence, is when Tangle came to me at probably the most difficult time in my life. And I know that there were a couple of people that are like, "We're going to tell that story," as I had planned it all along. My husband passed fairly unexpectedly. And we were having a funeral memorial at the funeral home. And mind you, his entire family, all of his brothers and sisters, were at the memorial and funeral. And I'm sitting in the front row, lots of people that we knew, and Tangle gets up, just like we're doing. And she decided that she was going to tell a story or a memory. And mind you, not many people knew Tangle and who she was.
get his family. Very conservative. Her first words out of her mouth at the podium was, "Hi, my name is Tonya, and David and I were lovers." I burst out laughing because I knew Tangle was, and what she was like. I looked over at his mom and my husband, David's mom and dad, and I thought I was going to have to pick them up off the floor. Because they looked at me and went, "Did you know? Is this really true?" His very conservative brother, who has just had a run for Congress, was about to get up and try to remove her. His other brother, who is the joker of the family, about fell out laughing. I mean, he was on the floor. But that was Tangle. I mean, she went on to espouse on David and stuff like that, but I'm in the front row just dying laughing. I mean, that was her. She was not going to let us get away with being sad in the situation. And that I'm almost assuredly thinking that she would want us to do that today. She would not, she would understand our sadness, and she would understand us having those sad memories. But she would more than likely say, "Okay, that's enough. Now we're going to have some fun." And she would take it and run with whatever it is. So I charge you all with doing that. Have your sad moments, but now take those memories and run with them. And honor Tangle or Tonya, however you knew her, that way.
So, those of you who know Tangle know that she did not respect authority in a conventional manner. And when we decided to start a publishing company, she of course jumped in full force. And one of the first things we ever did after getting her book published for the first time, if you've still got one of those red and gold copies of Thine Enemy's Eyes, feel free to burn those. I've got an extra copy of the purple ones for you if you want it. But we went to the World Science Fiction Convention. It was in Reno that year. And this is the convention where they give out the Hugo Awards. It is one of those conventions everybody pays to go, and they have, you can meet every author you have ever heard of and many you haven't heard of. Any publisher, any editor, any artist. It is huge. It travels from year to year. So we go. We're the only people we know there. And first of all, we've now met 3 or 4 other people at that convention, one of which was from Boise. He joined our bowling league. But more specifically to the story I want to tell, one of the people that we got into a party with was George R.R. Martin of Game of Thrones. And we're in his private party. And we're all sitting around. He is sitting up in a tall chair, like he's holding court, telling stories, and everybody's around him. And she's there, and she looks at me and goes, "Okay, George, I know it's kind of uncouth at your own party to ask for an autograph." And everybody's going, "Yeah, kind of uncouth. But would you sign my breast?" And he goes, "Sharpie?" I don't think he was the only one who gave her an autograph that night, but I could be wrong. But that was, like I said, that was her. She did not, authority didn't matter. It was, do you treat people with respect? Do you treat people the way that she thought they should be treated? And if you did, you're good in her book. That convention, she met Boris Vallejo and his wife. Every single day of the convention, she got to spend time with them. I, on the other hand, did not. I was parking the car. I decided not to go to this one panel. Pretty much every day I missed them. Until the last day of that convention, we're at the Hugo Awards, We step out, we've been actually hanging out with his stepkids the entire convention, and I didn't know until that day that they were his stepkids. And so I'm explaining I haven't seen them, and one of them goes, I know a guy. And so he starts texting his dad, who's backstage at Hugo's giving one of the awards. And I'm like, okay, well, it's getting late, we need to be going. I walk off to go get our other roommate, Brady, who was with us at the convention. And as I walk away, he walks up. Every time. While I was walked away, she gave him a pair of kitty ears and a cat tail that clips onto your belt. And his response was, oh, it goes on like this. And just immediately, this tiny little old Peruvian man who is esteemed in his field, put on kitty ears that she gave him and clipped the tail to his belt because she gave him this gift. I know at least one person here did not friend me on Facebook because she didn't know who the old man in the picture was. And that's simple. If you got to spend time with her, she made you uncomfortable because she looked at what your comfort zone was and said, that's not where you should be, come here. And dragged you wherever she thought you should be. And I thank her for it, and I'm glad she's done that to pretty much everybody here as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Morgan, and I'm a Tangleholic. I had the great fortune, I've just been trying to count the years. I met Tangle in '89 and was immediately told on our first meeting that she was my sister. We were in the FCA and we both belonged to the same household. And the household was made up primarily of redheaded women. And all of them were not just red-haired, they had the redhead personality, just like Tangle. And we got along great. When she lived in Moscow, several years later, she was hosting an event for another medieval group. And we had talked, and she said, hey, if you want to come, we'd really love to have you. So my girlfriend and roommate and I drove from Billings, Montana, 12 hours straight through to Moscow, got there at 6 a.m. And just when we parked the van, and I laid my head back, hoping to take a nap for a little bit, somebody's banging on my hood. I open my eyes, and there's Tangle. She's saying, great, you're here. Come on, I need your help getting everybody ready. In the house we go, and there, the whole wedding party is getting dressed in late Elizabethan, so big flowing skirts, corsets, gentlemen in doublets, and wearing codpieces. And one of the guys, I didn't learn the whole story until later, but one of the guys, when she had told everybody, this is what you're wearing, balked at the codpiece idea. And then made the mistake of telling her, well, you know, the problem with the codpiece is they're never big enough for me. Which, all of us that know her know that her response was, challenge accepted. So she made a bigger
grander one than all the other guys are wearing, and he still refused to wear it. So she started getting creative. There was one that was purple fur. He still, argued, so she made a bigger one, and a bigger one. I believe, fifth iteration is where he finally gave up. Because the fifth iteration was gold lame paisley on one side and purple and black zebra stripes on the other side, was huge, had blue ribbons hanging from the bottom with little bells on them for all those Scottish folks, and had originally in the tip of it had one of those little push button things in animal like Build-A-Bear that sings songs, and it sang "Love Me Tender." Unfortunately, the little song thingy wasn't correctly fastened to stay in place at the tip, and it worked its way down to the bottom, where every time he stepped, it was pressed. So, with Carmina Burana playing in the background, here comes the wedding party, and here comes this guy in this massive, ugly as hell codpiece that when he takes a step, starts playing, "Love me tender, love me tender, love me tender," across an entire gem. And, everybody was fairly serious and smiling about the beauty and grandeur of the wedding party up until that point. By the time they got to the end of their path, there wasn't anybody in the place that wasn't laughing until tears except him. His face was about as red as that pillar over there. I have been told repeatedly that he never argued with her about garb again. That was Tangled. If it was a challenge, she took it. If somebody questioned her ideas, she demonstrated why she was right until they gave in one way or another. God love her. And this hole is never going to be filled. But most of all, it will never be filled with sadness. It will be filled with laughing tears, remembering that and all the other stuff that they wouldn't write in a sitcom because nobody would believe it.
Hi, my name is AC. I actually met Tangled through the convention scene, and to say her friendship was a surprising impact would be very much an understatement, because it started off a bit scolding, a lesson very much learned for me. I was being far more hyperactive and just zooming everywhere compared to where I am now. But to say that she wasn't a force of nature in her own right would be an understatement. Whether it was with her sassy wit or her charming humor, her creativity, it's something that still to this day blows me away. Speaking of impacts and everything, the main story I actually want to share is literally my introduction to her. I want to say it was like Family on Young, 2011 or 2012. It was one of my first ever conventions I went to. And I made some friends my first time around, started hanging out with people, talking, more and more. of thinking very much in the moment, what do? I walk up, I plant my foot right on their butt, get a big old swift kick. And boy, howdy was I wrong who that was. I learned very quickly who that was. Because she gets up, she turns around. Who do you think you are to kick me in the butt? And I become a white sheep in that moment. And I get scolded about, like, no, you don't do that to people. You don't just go up and kick somebody, whether they're a friend or not. And I apologize a ton. Again, I can't say sorry enough to her. But one of the funniest things is that's also kind of one of my fondest memories. Because very quickly she became a friend of my life. And somebody who I very much miss now. Sorry. The thing about Tangled was that very much like her love of sharks or giant monsters, she was a force of nature. She was something that moved into our lives. And as much as some people may think that it's a simple thing, it's something that you don't forget. We all have different memories. We all have different experiences, whether it's from a brief meeting or a long time interaction. And the thing I've learned from Tangle is that she leaves a great spark with everybody that she comes to meet and interact with. I'm very fortunate to have that in my life. And I know for a fact she's very much missed. So, really, just use somebody's patient thought. You never know how much you might learn from them. Anywho, I'm horrible at this stuff. Can someone take the mic from me?
Hi, I'm Fred. I met Tangle, I think, back in 2000. When my wife and I got introduced to the Society for Creative Anachronism. And I remember this time I was down at Uprising. That was a war over in eastern Idaho. I've never been to a war before. And my deal was sword fighting. And there was a bunch of us there. And in that area they had a rapier group called Blackwing. They all had fancy matching uniforms. And the older guys in the group were a little militaristic. They were like little drill sergeants. And so there was a lot of us to get going, and so we could do some scenarios. They're yelling. All right, everybody, line up, shoulder to shoulder, so close that you can reach out and grab the ass of the person next to you. Somebody grab my ass. Well, that set the tone for the rest of the scenario. I had a great time. Had that little boost there in the beginning. But I was new to the SEA. I'm going to go right into another story. Sorry. So I had to take persona, and being a rapier fighter, I had like 5 choices: Spain, England, Germany, France, and I had 3 days of French in high school. So French. Okay, when? Well, probably. When was the 3 Musketeers? Period. Okay, 1575. And so the friends who had gotten us into the group, also artists in Adolfson, made pretty good garb. So she makes me this outfit, and there's costuming consequences to picking 1575. okay, put one foot out in front of you, and she's like adjusting me. She's putting hands on me. And okay, now clench that. Oh, very good. Very good. And so after that, and a few subsequent lessons, to make everything okay, I'm now proud to say I'm very comfortable with leather and lace.
So my name's Christy. In the SCA, I was known as Elsash or Elspeth. My first encounter with Tangle was mildly terrifying. I love to dance. Dance is something I really enjoy doing. I'm just not brave enough to talk to people then. Now, most people wonder if I'd ever shut up. But when I first met Tangle, I'd heard that they were doing this fun dance thing. And it was medieval dance, which I was like, oh, that can't be hard. Yeah, it's a lot harder than it sounds. And as some people already stated, Tangle was very good about telling me how to dance proper. Yes, I did hear that two people cannot occupy the same space at the same time. I got that one a couple of times because I was turning wrong. But at the end of it, right, I kind of was this little quiet sort of person and stepped off to the side. And I just kind of wanted to know more about stories and stuff. And at the end of this whole deal, Tangle's off the side, surrounded by a bunch of people, just listening to her amazing stories. And I'm trying to be very discreet off to the side, just kind of like, well, maybe I can just sort of hang out, hear some fun stuff, and that's the way. Little did I know that that's how you get singled out. As I'm trying to be very nonchalant, she goes, hey, you need to come over here. I'm like, fortunately, there was nobody behind me. I'm like, I'm okay. She goes, no, come over here, hang out, check this out. And she was in the middle of telling a story about how she was teaching people the proper way to go through camps, is that you are supposed to break, then pillow it before you burn. And all of the steps it took to do that the proper way. And how sometimes people weren't listening and they would burn, because once you burn, you can't pillow it or drape anything because everything is already been destroyed. And that is how I met Tangle. From that point on, anytime that she saw me trying to be sneaky off to the side, apparently, unbeknownst to me, that was a very big sign over my head that said, hey, grab me and maybe pay attention to something that I was comfortable doing. So she always made sure, she's like, hey, we need to kind of do this. And if I was trying to figure out who I could dance with, she would just grab somebody, grab me, and go, you guys are partnered up and we're going to do this thing. And I went, okay. And that's how I met Tangle. She was always just full of life. Very, very much wanted to make people feel welcome, feel comfortable, and be a part of whatever's going on, whether you thought you wanted to be a part of it or not. And it's probably one of the biggest things that I took from her is how to be more bold and take those steps into doing things that, whether or not you're going to fail at, you can still do because you want.
Hi, my name's Tonya, and I'm one of those random adventure kids that Tangle kind of gathered what she did. From what I've been listening to and the things that I've seen, so the only one of the convention scenes, there's like two classes on the conventions. There's the kids who are just starting out and have, you know, and to just really unabashedly accept yourself who you are. And I think moving forward, I think that is something that we all need to take away with us and take it from the doc. And please do not despair, because even though her loss is incredibly profound, she has left a little bit of herself in every one of us. And I am just like, even looking at the different types of people that are in this room, the fact that her personality reached so many demographics of people here. Take it from Tangle, just unabashedly be yourself, and you can make changes in people's lives that are going to last so much longer than your physical legacy on this earth. So she will be missed. She was just
Hello, it's me again. I'm going to be a little bit acting as a proxy for some of the people over on YouTube who couldn't be here in person but wanted to share some stories. So, Kim Green, aka Lady Isabel de Lily, I hope I'm saying that right, apologies if not. Though apparently she's not been in SCA for a while. I met Tangle so many years ago at some SCA event or another. We were both events in Great back when it wasn't yet popular for a lot of women to do so. I thought she was loud and obnoxious at first. Later, I learned she was truly loud and obnoxious. And those qualities belied the brilliance below the surface. We kept running into each other at events. Each time we would talk and joke, exchange insanities before going our merry little ways. Each time, I came away with a great appreciation for her. She would often talk to me of caroling and helping me become a better voice herald. She helped me with figuring out 14th century French outfits. Seems familiar. She helped me with figuring out how to sew. She helped me figure out how to serve. She encouraged me to do anything that made me uncomfortable because of insecurities or fears. I can't remember when, but at some point in our SCA journey, I became the only protege of Captain Katerina. It was quite a journey. Many years after meeting her, she married, as Captain Katerina, my ex-husband and myself at Uprising. 10 years after that, when I told her we were getting divorced, she didn't sympathize. She said, "Oh, thank God." After which we swapped stories and talked about writing people we didn't like into stories to live in their infamy forever. She encouraged me so much to write, something I still need to do better. She taught me not to be afraid of making mistakes, because those would teach me sometimes even better than successes. When I married my now husband, she said, "Oh, thank God," and gave me a big hug. It was good to know I had her approval and her presence at our wedding. We talked everything: gaming, kids, families, shopping for fabric, the merits of making our own bras to fit our cute bazongas, going to more cons, getting me to go to cons in the first place. We talked politics, religion, philosophy. We just talked about everything we could. I love that woman so much. I will miss her, and I do miss her so much. Peace to all of us, and enjoy having known her. Such an amazing night. Oh, I'm not done. I'm just getting started. Thank you. Another one from April, though in the SCA I'm known as Gabriella. I first came in contact with Tangle when I was fairly new to the SCA. It was about 18 years ago. I had been attending events around a year, and I wanted to make some decent pieces that reflected my chosen time period and nationality. This brilliant lady snatched me up and helped me create my first set of real garb. She taught me the ins and outs of 15th and 16th century clothing, and with much patience and some exasperation, she helped me fine-tune my pieces until my perfectionist mind was satisfied. She taught me how to look at a picture and make it a reality. She was the first person I heard talk about bolts of cloth auditioning to be made into a grand piece. An audition they did. She was there when I first pricked my finger with a needle while making my first set of garb. I was a little confused when she rushed over and squeezed my finger and sighed of disappointment when no blood came out. She then explained to me that seamstresses back in the day would mark the pieces they created with a drop of blood. My next fingerprint, she rushed over, got some blood squeezed out, and very happily shoved my finger where a modern-day tag would go, on the back of the neckline, on the dress I was working with. I've never seen someone so happy to see blood. I was also fortunate enough to be part of her dance practices. I often heard her tell people that if they didn't remember where to go next, just move where they'd be trodden on. She took especially hard cases and would dance with them herself, and had no problems manhandling them into their next position. When teaching horses brawl, she would make the London dancers as long as she could to get away with, while not being too mean to the gentlemen. She would then let the gentleman know that the dance masters shifted their positions, and they found themselves about to take the dance with, they would have to pull to the other end of the line to make sure the lady there had a partner, and they only had 8 counts to be there. If she didn't see the gentleman giving it their all at the end, she insert herself into the dance, and be the lady without a dance partner, and give the guy the sneak out. Tangle loved bacon. Maybe even more than I did. She had this little dance she would do whenever she got, or was going to get bacon. Another member of Tonya Tangle, she once said that she would know whoever used her by how they used her. I took up the challenge. I could be pretty sneaky and came up on people without them knowing, oftentimes without even meaning to. A few weeks after Tangle's boost declaration, I found my opportunity. She was busy telling one of her stories to a group of people, and I quietly made my way behind her and used her. Without missing a beat, without turning, she says, "Hi, Adol." I was quite perplexed at how she knew it was me. Love that dear lady, and she will be sorely missed. And that's so fun. Thank you.
Okay, so I didn't remember what I was going to say. How many times can you guys think of that she actually said the words, "I don't know anything about that," without it being a denial of guilt? I haven't come up with it. And on that note, we'll tell one story. How many people know she actually got banished from the court? Yeah, definitely. So I started and came up with everything great to say about our nation. And I got to look at it, and it was awesome. And Todd's even got a great story about that. He told that was my about the trip down. But I went to the coronation of John, which was the second coronation of the Kingdom of Arcadia. And it was amazing. It was absolutely everything you could talk about in dream, there it was, and that was so cool, and it was so much better than what was happening in Ontario. So, I get back up to Lions March, and I'm, Tangle, that was so great, how do we get that here? And so, we started talking, and we had the idea of, well, maybe we can host an event, because we're like the border of Arcadia and Ontario, and maybe Arcadia will keep us. So, at the time, this in Ontario, because we were just peasants, we had to go to our seneschal, who would go to our patron, who would then go to import the people. So we did that, and said, "Hey, we want to host an event." And the Crown responded, "Well, we don't really want you to host an event, but you can do a meal for their majesties at the next meeting." Okay, well, what's that? Well, that would be border aid. Okay, who's in charge of border aid? We'll get back to you. Okay, so they got back to us and informed us that no one was in charge of border aid. Nobody was doing it. And this also happens to be And we said, okay, we'll change the date. In fact, this Automation's keep it now, so we'll call it Border War. Well, that was a good time. And so we get another range of emails of people who are really doing that. And so now it becomes the Lion and Griffin War. It was the heraldry to decide what it is. And that still wasn't okay. So the entire American volunteer boycotted the event. But we had it anyway, and Automation came up, and it was awesome, and we had a great time. It was in beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene, and we had cabins, and Hemlock showed up, and everything was cool, and then we all went home. And about 3 weeks later, Kate put the pavilion up for sale, and all of her costuming, and all of her SCA stuff she was selling, all of it. And, of course, that's what people really wanted to be. So I started questioning, what's going on? Tell me, what's going on? What? So about days of pestering her, she forwards me an email in the middle of the night. So next morning, I go to the library and log in through DOS and sort through about 70 really angry emails to find the one that she forwarded to me. And this woman named Catherine is just online screaming at Tanglwyst. You are the problem for the entire world, and all of these things are
the title of Flaming Berries. And it has a wonderful long story song that goes with it. Tangle, upon hearing this story, decided that I was going to be made real Flaming Berries. And she grabbed the crown off of my head, because we were in a household together. And this particular crown has little divots on the top where inset pearls are that you can take them out. Well, she decided that it really should be flaming. So she found somebody at the event that was either a blacksmith or something, and tried to talk them into setting real flames into this coronet, so that wherever I went at night, people would be able to find me and say, there goes the Flaming Berries. Thankfully, she did not succeed in that quest. She came back to the tent the most dejected I have ever seen. But I'm pretty sure somebody in her memory is going to try, just because she wanted to succeed, and that's Tangle. She's going to succeed in putting you and your talents and your personality at the forefront long before she does. She hands you the mic and then steps away. So take that with you as you go through today. She wants you to take this mic.
My name is Adolfson. The Tanglwyst knew me as Simone de Saint-Martin. Almost 16 years ago, she was one of the officiants at my wedding, and this is the dress I wore. She actually stood up for my husband, Tom. Tomas de la Mallorca, also known as the Icebreaker. And at that wedding, she looked me straight in the eye and she said, girl, run now, you don't know what you're getting into. Tanglwyst. Give my Tom a hug, because I know you're there with him. Remind him I love him. And don't get into too much trouble. I'd like you both to still be in the Summerlands when I come. Thank you.
Oh, Tangle. Everybody has a million stories, and they're all awesome. The thing I love about Tangle stories is that they're all true. Like, she didn't have to embellish her stories, right? Because they were true. So some of my favorite Tangle memories, I know Tangle from the SCA. My name is Crystal. When I lived here before, I was Alina in the SCA. Now I'm Arnora in the SCA. And of course, met her through dance practices, like most everybody, movie and stuff. My favorite stories of Tangle are our road trips that we took. We had this one road trip, and of course, Tangle's driving, and we have the station wagon, and we've got the spear on the top of the station wagon pointing forward, and these two guys pull up in a car next to us, and they're like, what's up with the spear? And we roll down the window. We're going down 84, right? We roll down the windows. What's up with the spear? And she says, we're going to go spear the beer. And we're like, what? So she, typical Tangle, she always has her business cards, right, with all of her information on it so that she can get a hold of her later. She says, here, hand them my card. And I'm like, are you kidding? We're going down the road. She's like, I know. You get out the window. I'll get as close as I can, and we'll hand them my card. Okay, I didn't say the stories were smart. So, yeah, we get in the park. Of course, we never hear from them, but it's a great story from Tonya. What else has she done? I think one of my favorites, though, will always be her 40th birthday party. And it was a Mardi Gras party. It was a good party. And years later, like at least 10, maybe 12 years later, I get a call. I found more of those damn 40 foils. They were everywhere. And it's like 12 years later, and she's like, guess what I just found? I'm like, another foil. And you're still finding them? Yeah. They're like glitter. Tangled glitter. Yeah, it was awesome. She and I went to a couple of live steel group events over in Soda Springs. And those were some really, really good events for her and I, because we were the only ones from the SCA that went, and it was just a chance for her and I to really bond and get close. And when I was going through my divorce and I was living down in Georgia, and I didn't know what I was going to do, she's the one that I reached out to, because I knew that she would be honest with me, and she would tell me, she wouldn't just put everything in the light of, oh, he's so bad, you're amazing, he's awesome, and, but she said, let's talk about what really happened. Let's get down into the nitty-gritty, and she did. And she always helped me to see and helped me to grow to be a better person and helped me want to be a better person. And she was just always there. If you needed to laugh, she was definitely there, because, if you needed to laugh, that's what you went to. And let's see, what else we got, Todd? Babe soup? Babe soup. Yeah, we had a swimming pool in the backyard, and we'd have dance practices, and Todd would be working, and he'd come home. This one night he came home. It was only girls at the dance practice. I don't know where all the guys were. Todd comes home and walks back in the backyard. Here's all the girls in the swimming pool after dance practice cooling off, and he's like, babe soup. It was awesome. It was so good. Yeah, it was like 2.5. You couldn't really swim, and everybody just sit in it like a pool tub instead of a hot tub. It was great. It was great. So many things just keep going through my head about just everything people say, and it reminds me of something else, and that reminds me of something else, and that reminds me of something else. Dance practices, when people are dancing around, and then the law of physics, two people cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And she said, and if that happens, the bodies hit the floor. And that's when Brian turned and I looked at each other and started singing, but the bodies hit the floor! Yeah, and we both knew each other were really cool at that point, so. That was thanks to Tangle. And Brian and I are still really good friends, and that was our bonding moment, She does that with a lot of people. Her costumes were amazing. She made me an amazing coat for keeping warm at SCA events, because I would always get really cold. But I'm gonna miss you. I already do. She was amazing. And I hope other people still have stories, because this has been really fun.
pointed out to literally everyone in the audience. And she brought it up almost every time I saw her after. She was also one of the reasons, I don't know, she noticed things that I didn't notice. She told me a lot of things I wasn't ready to hear yet. I wish I could have told her thank you. I really was. I remember her in her kitchen going on a rant about religion. Yeah, no, it's fine. She was right about that. There was a comment where my now husband and I went to, we were just starting to see each other, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, he's this guy. And we were doing like one of these play fights things, and we're sitting next to Daniel and John, and she's like, look, John, Nerd's flirting. And I'm just like, I'm not flirting, and then I realized, oh no, I do might have feelings for this guy. So thank you for Tangle to waking me up for a lot of things. So, thank you for everything.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah. I met Tangle in the CA. She was instantly my friend and became my sister. I loved her very much, as we all did. It was hard not to. She was a force of nature. She was larger than life and loved unconditionally and defender of the downtrodden. That was Tangle, everything about her. She and John convinced me to help them organize a convention in Pocatello.
That's not how I remember it.
Well, that's how it happened. But we did the convention, and it was amazing. It was the largest event of its kind in the area, and people still talk about it there. While we were planning the convention and working on different things, they were on their way to Pocatello on a trip, and the car broke down, and she ended up, I actually drove over to Twin Falls and picked them up, and as we were driving back to Pocatello, we're, discussing different things and talking about her writing, and she got into discussing about how there are so many different ways to kill someone, and she's researched it for so many years. And she has this book of poisons, and she knows all of these things because, it's essential as a writer to know how to kill someone properly and dispose of the body. And so, I was telling her about how, I worked at Roto-Rooter in Pocatello for many years, and the owner's grandkids did not like me, and they did everything they could to try and intimidate me, and talked about different ways of disposing bodies and how no one would ever find it, and things like that, thinking they're going to scare me. And I said, yeah, I don't have to worry about getting rid of the body. I can do it without a problem. And they're like, oh yeah, how? And I said, 5,000 gallons of sulfuric acid will take care of that. Well, my husband drives hazmat tanker, so I have access to acid. And that brought on a whole different discussion on those types of things. And so we go down this rabbit hole, and then she explained that, she's done so much research that, she had a spare hard drive for her computer that was full of nothing but horse porn. And she said, if anything ever happened to Todd and he disappeared and the police find only horse porn on her computer, then, there might be a problem somewhere. But again, that was Tangle. She was, like I said, larger than life. I sent a meme to John last week, and it was Johnny Depp in Alice in Wonderland. And the meme started out with them saying, "You're way too much." And he responded, "My dear, I am much more muchier." That was Tangle. She was over the top on everything. And we loved her very much. And was missed so much.
All right, so rewind the clock back to 1992. For those of you that were here for my first story, this happened about a month later. There was a bunch of us up at the University of Idaho that decided we were going to go to a SCA event. It would be my second SCA event. The first one was locally there in Moscow. The second one was off going to be in Central Washington, somewhere, I don't remember where. And we were a bunch of nobody college students, dirt poor, basic, no rank in the SCA at all, nobody important at all. Except for Tangled, she was a lady, which, if you're not in the SCA, that'd be roughly the equivalent of corporal, very low, you know. She was the only person that had any kind of a title at all at that point. And so we all caravanned up to this event, and while we were on the way up, it was discussed that we need to avoid anybody that's wearing a shiny hat, because those are the people that are important, those are the people that have rank, those are the people that make decisions. They're the ones you want to avoid. We were there to have fun, so we were like, okay, we'll do that, we'll avoid people. We'll avoid the shiny hat people. We'll have our own fun. And we did. We attended the battles. We, some of us fought. The rest of us hung out, had a good time. And afterward, we all went over to this swimming pool that was right there at the edge of the event, and they had hot tubs. So we were sitting around in the hot tub, all of us, several college students, myself, Tanglwyst. She was wearing a purple bikini, which at this point in time she would have been about, I don't know, mid-20s. And we were almost immediately joined by a couple of important people in the SCA. One of them was Duke, Sir, title, Gnar. The other one was Sir Aaron. He had other titles, but I don't remember what they were. Important people. They come in, like they own the place, they get into the hot tub, they sit down, they kind of take over. And we were a little bit intimidated, right? A lot intimidated. So the conversation died down a little bit, and Erin's looking over at Tangle's back, and she's like, what, is there a problem? He's like, no. I'm just wondering what the consequences would be if I were to unhook that. She says, yeah, you can. You don't mind me pulling out all your chest hair. And he's like, oh, sounds worth it. Through your back. Never mind. He didn't come anywhere close to her at all, and that impressed the living daylights out of me, because here's this guy, you know, very good fighter, noteworthy on the field for just destroying people, and she just took him down just in 1 second. And that just impressed the living daylights out of me, and to this day that has stuck with me. And I just always remember, oh, if you don't mind your chest hair being pulled out, through your back.
My name is Adam, and much like everybody else, one day a random celestial being popped out of nowhere at an anime convention and said, you're mine. And if I remember correctly, I used to do hosting for the conventions and stuff like that, master of ceremonies, if you will. I was super nervous. It was my first time. Tangle was in the front row as one of the special guests, and she looked at me and said, you seem nervous. I'm like, I am terrified. She goes, don't worry, you'll do fine. And the one after that will be even better. And then that theme continued on year after year. That was fine, but you're gonna do better. That was fine, you're gonna do better. And one day she approached me and said, oh my God, I have this character in one of my books. You're perfect for it. you're spry, you're young, you somehow look like you're 12 in your 30s, you're perfect. And so she had me come out, and I had always wanted to get into voice acting in some way, shape, or form. I landed in corporate radio, it's basically the same thing. But with that said, that day when we walked into her studio, she threw the scripts or the pages in front of me and said, all right, go ahead and read these. And so I read them, and I felt confident, still a little nervous. Like, that was fine, but the next one's gonna be better. And I find it so ironic now. It's been at least 15 years now at this point. She said, look, I love the inflection, I love the way this sounds, but I need you to do me a favor. And it was like a very serious, like, doom and gloom kind of vibe. She goes, I want you to slap the biggest shit-eating grin on your face while you read this. It's like, okay, but this isn't very happy. She's like, just try it. And I did, and I slapped that grin on, and doom and gloom, but it came out perfect. It felt right, and the voice inflection, the power is huge. And so the reason I bring up this specific thing is that I now work in commercial production. I make radio commercials for a living. And I get some of the stick-in-the-muddiest people who just, they might be illiterate, sure, but they also just have no personality attached to it. And I can always hear Tangle in the back of my head, hey, just slap the biggest shit-eating grin you can. And it comes out perfect. We could be talking about plumbing, we could be talking about, payday loans, it doesn't matter. I can take any person in this room and I guarantee you we can read a script, all thanks to Tangle and the little 3-step process she showed me. So if you're listening to the radio, I know it's a dying heart, there's a chance that Tangle was somewhere in there with someone's shit-eating grin.
All right, we have some more comments. I want to go ahead and read out some stories from some people. They're a little bit spread out. We had some buzz going on, so my apologies. But why are you apologizing? Suzette mentions that they didn't have time to type up anything specific, but they met Tangle when they were 19. They are 39 now, through their brother Dave Dasvid in the SCA. She made them dresses, helped with the comic book, brought them out of their shell, as she did for so many of us. Was a great dance teacher, an intimidating dance teacher, loved going to dance practice back when it was still at Harmon Travel. Simultaneously abrasive in her blunt honesty, as well as super deeply caring about what really mattered. Suzette loved helping them with their costumes. Her repair station back when Pandemonium was at the Civic Center. It was so awesome to learn so much from her. And it sounds like she's not the only one. Everyone's kind of mentioning that how much that they, Tangle's touched their lives and made an impact. Kim responds with, my other regret Tangle's there is that there was a contest to see who was the better kisser. Her or Concho Bar, Couch Barney?
Couch bar.
Sure. Yep, that's what I said. But Kim regrets not being one of the women to step up to kiss her and see. My apologies on the butchering of a place, person, or title. Let me just see if I have anything else here. Worky mentions that they are happy that we may have lost Tangle. We have her voice in her audiobooks, so we can always hear her when we want to. I think that's really touching and nice. Scrolling. My apologies. Oh, there's more. Okay. There's something I haven't read yet. April mentions that they were with Tangle as she and John went through modern music for the Fool's Ball. Moderns in quotes, by the way. They would listen to pieces and see if the song would work with one dance or another. This would often happen after dance practice. Usually after grabbing some food, we would sometimes get out of the car, blast the music, and try out the dances to that music right there in the parking lot. Suzette remembers, I'm going to, again, brace yourselves. Cora Bushka went with some modern music as well. I think that's kind of what I have so far. I'm going to read these. I'll be back if I need to be. Thank you.
So one thing that I think everybody should be able to appreciate about her is Tonya Tangle. She helped you find your dream, whether you knew it was your dream or not. Within the confines of the fantastic journeys publishing in our and getting people's books out on the table, watching people light up when you hand them their first copy of their first book ever is one of those incredible experiences that I will only have been able to have because of Tonya. But more than that, every time we would find an editor for one of our books, and I mean literally every single time, we would give them the book, we'd say, hey, read this, send us your thoughts. 3 weeks later, we'd write back saying, hey, we haven't heard from you, what's going on? Oh, I just landed my dream job, I don't have time to be your editor anymore. And I'm fairly certain that that was Tangle's magic and presence, and just, if she was involved, you found the thing that made your life better. And I think we are all here because of that. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Anybody else? Next.
So I have one more that I think is probably my other favorite Tangle moment. And I just want to say, I really applaud all of you to remember these dates and the times, because time's kind of irrelevant to me other than making sure I'm on time and something. So like, I just know I've known her forever, because that's my time cat. But one day I had decided, wow, I really need some new garb. You know, as we get older and grow and change and stuff shifts and moves. Needed a new set of outfit stuff. And I have no idea how to pattern, never done it. My first one was made by somebody else who knew how, and she just went, doodle, 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 here you go, here's pattern make garb. And I'm like, what? Okay, sure. So I no longer had access to that person. She had moved somewhere else, and I knew Tangle was good at that stuff. And I said, hey, Tangle, I really need new garb. And I'd kind of like to be able to do this, and I threw some ideas at her, and she went, those are horrible. I was like, okay, well, I still need help making a pattern. She says, great, come up, let's set a date. I'll show you how to make some real pattern stuff. I said, okay. So I, live in Twin Towers and Boise. I came up, stayed with some family up there the night before, and the next morning I sent her a message saying, hey, I'm on my way. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. To which she replies back, oh crap, I forgot. But come over anyway. I was like, all right. So I get over there. She had actually planned the D&D game with some friends, forgot that we had this date scheduled, but still said, let's do this. I said, okay. Probably the most interesting and weirdest way I've ever learned how to do anything. So yes, she was really good. It was paint plastic. That's how you make patterns. You don't use paper. That's stupid. And as we're doing this, I'm like, I have a little notebook I brought, and I'm trying to figure out how I can write this down and still be the model because she's making it on me. Now, prior to this, she did tell me, make sure that you wear a good supporting bra and comfortable clothes. I was like, okay, so I do that. And I'm like trying to figure out how to write. She keeps telling me to stop moving. I was like, well, I'm just trying to make sure I remember how to do this so I can do it again later. She goes, oh, well, where's your phone? Let's just record it. I said, okay. We get to recording it, and partway through, as she's explaining the bra piece, because she's actually detailing how to do this as she's like doing it on me, and then every now and then, it's probably my favorite thing about she goes, hold on a second, let me make sure this is on here. Yep, okay, we're still good recording, and we continue. And my favorite piece is that she says it's important to wear a good bra, breaks down why and all the supports, and when you make the outfit right, it gives you the support you're looking for. And she said, when you do this for making it for men, strongly encourage them to wear a bra. They will probably say no. And then you can use this video as documentation to prove that this is a good idea, and they will probably still say no. And it was just one of my favorite things, and she just sat there the whole time, right? People are coming in because they're expecting to game with her, and she's like, just a minute, I forgot we were doing this thing, so we're gonna take care of this first. And she sat there and helped me put together the whole pattern for the outfit, the steps on how to make it, and all of the extra pieces on how to do anything else I wanted to do with it, shifting it, changing it, making it all of the ideas that were horrible that I had, because they don't really work that well with most of the garb ideas. But she was never, even if she thought the idea wasn't a great one, she never made you feel poor for it. And I think probably one of my favorite Tangle statements that she ever said to me at an event somewhere, because she, like I said, she's always good at revealing stories, is one of my favorite things she'd always told me is you can either be a good example or a horrible warning. And that one has probably been one of the favorite things that sticks with me all the time. Thank you.
We've talked a lot about how unconventional she was and all of these things. She was really fearless, and by which I mean she would just do things. She would have no idea one day how to do something, and the next day she would just be doing it. One day I asked her, hey, this is a style of clothing I liked, and I thought this looked really cool. I went to work, and I came back, and she had the beginnings of it on her dress form and was almost done with it. Like it was, she just figured out what to do for it that day. But you know, that's understandable. She was a seamstress, so figuring out a new pattern wasn't that big of a stretch. And then one day she said, I want to learn how to make paper. And I said, well, all right, do your research. You know, I want to get a blender because I need to have a special blender to be able to make paper. I said, well, do your research. When you figure out all the parts you need, we'll go get a blender. And then I had to go take a nap. I was working nights, so I had to go nap and get ready for work. And I came downstairs, and she had her first two pieces of paper drying on the window. She had already figured it out, built the pieces she needed, gone, got the blender, came back, and it started making those things. One summer, me and my son spent most of that summer building a deck in our backyard. And I tend to be very cautious. And so I would, as we were approaching the end of the deck, it was near the end of the summer, and I was putting up the railings around the pieces. And I was being very careful and measuring and marking and remeasuring and making sure everything lined up. And I had been working on it for probably 90 minutes and had gone like a foot and a half. I remember it was the end of the summer because I had half a day of school that day. I had to go back for training at the beginning of the year. And so I was like, dang it, I have to go shower. I have to get ready for this. I guess I'll have to finish it this weekend. And when we got married, in our vows, we promised to each other never to do family projects together. And we did. And so she asked me, she said, well, while you're showering, is it okay if I make a little bit more progress? And I said, yeah, sure. And so I went to go take a shower, I was going to go to work, and I was thinking, you know, throughout the day, she'll make a little bit more progress. And I came out just after 25 minutes or so, and she was 90% done. She'd gone all the way around. She'd grabbed a scrap piece of wood and just went through and was zip, 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 and gone all the way around in less time than it took me to go over the half. 2 years ago, she decided she wanted to paint, and so she bought a bunch of stuff and watched some videos and started painting. And I've tried to learn to draw and paint myself, and I make a really good stick figure. So the fact that she could just do that, and then she decided she liked the way resin countertops looked, and how you could do it with epoxy. And so she went through and just up and decided to learn how to do that. Watched 1.5 YouTube videos, and suddenly was redoing my kitchen counters. And my kitchen has a whole nautical theme with beaches and inserts into the epoxy. And she just, I would look at something like that, and I'd be like, all right, I need to watch videos for 6 months, and then price everything, and maybe talk myself into it. And nope, she decided she wanted to do something, she would just do it. Which was one of the most memorable things I have about her, and she did not let anything stop her. She did not let fear of failure or rejection or anything get in her way. She just stepped forward to do it. I miss her very much.
I think I've gotten some thoughts into a coherent order. We'll see. Hi, I'm Gomez. I'm also one of the people that first encountered Tangle through SCA stuff. And yeah, have very much a lot of similar stories about being called into things, following around to dance practice and harmony travel and at the community college and being dragged into this and helping out with that and seeing all the other stuff. One of the things that sticks in my head about Tangle is, for those of you not on the SCA side, it's a big enough group that's been around long enough that we give ourselves pats on the backs and little awards and stuff. And, some years back, I got a particular pat on the back called the Order of the Pelican, which is an award that they give for service, for helping out, for doing things behind the scenes, helping organize stuff, helping get stuff together. Maybe even just like staying late to pack up, to put away the chairs and come early to help set things up, and organizing stuff. And it's called the Order of the Pelican because there's an old wives' tale that in times of need, a mother pelican will pierce her own breast with her beak in order to feed her children, baby birds, and that's the symbol of the order. Is people who will go above and beyond to help things out. And that symbology is on a little medallion that you're given, and you pick up other medallions over time. You find one that looks cool, you find one that likes, and they each have their own different look and different feel and a different meaning to you. And as should surprise nobody here who knows her, Tangle had already been a member of the Order of the Pelican for some years before I even met her. And when I got given that honor, she gave me her Pelican medallion. And I still keep that today, and I think of it as my storm crow. It's the one I look to when things are getting rough, when it's going to be kind of dark, stormy skies ahead, and things aren't going to be pleasant. They might not be fair, they might not be right, but you've got to get through it anyway. And it's one of the things that I think of her, and I look at that, and remember how she would bull her way through things to get through the tough times and find a way to help people enjoy things again, because that's one of the things I think of about that kind of service is helping my friends have fun too. And I think that's something that a lot of us share, is that Tangle helps all of us have fun and find joy in things and experience things we might never have found on our own. But that's my strongest memory.
I'm Bob Ferris. And I've met Tonya at Tanglwyst many years ago. About 15, 16 years ago, my lady wife and I were very, very nice. And my son and his friends were young teenagers. They were known as the Puppy Pack. And she taught those young gentlemen how to dance, as she taught many people to dance. And those young gentlemen are all now married and all have children of their own now. And they still fondly remember the time that they spent, the opportunity they had. and the fact that she loved them to death. And that those are memories that they still follow today. There are many memories that I have had of her. I can't articulate, but she was fondly cherished.
Hi there, my name is Candy. I fear public speaking. The first time I met Tangle, she wouldn't remember. I'm 33 now, I was 15. And I was at the Hotel Motel Holiday Inn for Anime Oasis, Old Past Convention. And I was with a little cosplay troupe, and we were so proud of our little outfits that we thrifted. And I will never forget, she had dark brown hair and a big brown duster. She looks like Carmen Sandiego, but like dark brown version. And she came walking down the hallway, and my friend Zach at the time was like, "What are you cosplaying? I'm so sorry, like, what are you cosplaying?" And she was like, "I'm just me." And I just my eyes followed her as she just walked on by. And I'll never forget it. That's when I was 15. Next time I met her, I was 24. And I started filming at conventions, covering Pandemonium, specifically the cosplay scene, and making little music videos to just kind of remember the convention, remember cosplayers and all the effort and hard work they put into their costumes. And I remember meeting her, and she was like, "Oh, you do filming? Okay, well, we're having a cosplay contest, so you need to be here at this time." Like, I've heard many stories of people saying she would just kind of direct you, she would just push you into a direction. And she immediately took to me, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, what's your name?" And great, well, we're gonna be here at this time, you need to be here, you need to be, oh, and could you actually, these kids need to learn about costume documentation, they need to learn how to present their costumes. If we could somehow film that and put that in like little documentaries that you could put together, do you think you could do that? And I was just like, okay, you know. But she encouraged me to keep filming and keep doing my thing. The next time that I met Tangle, by the way, that's when she had green hair. The first time I saw her, she had long, dark brown hair. The next time, she had green hair. The next time I interacted with Tangle, it's because John reached out and said, "Hey, we're starting a convention in Pocatello, and we would like you to film events at the convention." And I was so honored. And to this day, I have been to many a convention around the United States. I've been to several, I've done media coverage. And Snake River Comic Con is the best party I have ever been to in Pocatello, Idaho. I'll never forget Tangle being like, "Okay, so at 3 o'clock mermaids in the pool, we need to cover that. And then we're having Harry Potter wand creation, I need you to cover that. Okay, there's gonna be a mech at the do you know about the costume hut?" Just pushing me into all these little venues, encouraging me. My friend Sonia at the time, we were making a fan film. She's like, "You've got to do a panel on it. You've got to get your fan film out there." She was just always pushing you to do things that you were uncomfortable with, but that she knew that was best for you. And something I wanted to say, and something I think people have touched on here, is just how creative she was and how talented and how brilliant she was, and how hard it is to lead a creative life. No one, I don't want to say no one. It's so hard to lead a creative life. This life is so hard. It's so difficult. We have so many personal struggles and things that we go through. And finding your joy in darkness through picking up a paintbrush, picking up a camera, doing voiceover work, making a film. This life doesn't want you to do that. This life wants you to grind and not much else. And it takes a lot of bravery to lead a creative life. and she was nothing but brave. She inspired me, and brown hair, green hair, blue hair. I'll just always remember her spirit.
I wanted to say one last thing, and that is, I'm so grateful to all of you. I am so grateful for everybody who came, whether you spoke or not. I'm glad to see every single person here. She has touched all of your lives, and you have touched all of mine. Or you all have touched mine. And thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who helped set up, who helped make all this happen. She would have loved every minute of it. Thank you, guys.
Probably goes without saying that if she were here, she probably would have made an inappropriate comment about Uncle Touchy. Thank you very much. Love you, John. We're getting ready to wrap up here today. I wanted to thank everybody for coming and for sharing these stories. It is very cathartic for me to be able to hear all these things and be reminded of all the things going on, all the lives she touched, and the memories that she leaves behind in all of us. So thank you all very much. We do appreciate you. I've been informed there is some Ziploc bags up at the food table. Take a snack. I feel like a comedian up here. Try the veal. But yes, thank you all very much.
Tangled, one last loving, spiteful act is dragging all of you introverts together. Good job.
positive way. Yeah, they're working on their own. Did you see the baby? Amy and I are, and I think Cara and I've been looking for that's been the big thing. Oh, Adam. I was gonna say, do you want to stop?